come back and take a look at the local dailies. All right, and later on the show, even as we take a look at the papers, we'll be having Fwamba, NC Fwamba, who's a political analyst for State of the Nation, alongside Dr. Daniel Olekanchori and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. That coming you at 6:30 to help us discuss the big headlines. And today, one of the biggest headlines is this one. On the front page of the Standard, it will form the basis of our biggest discussion on whether or not retired President Uhuru Kenyatta should actually be involved in active politics. So on the Standard, this is a headline, Ruto's Bogeyman. Wanasema the scapegoat. With Mount Kenya voting bloc seemingly defiant towards President Ruto's 2027 re-election, Ruto's appointment have turned their anger and frustration on retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. In what is becoming the norm, the Ruto administration has made Uhuru its punching bag whenever it's under pressure from Kenyans to deliver on their promises in an attempt to deflect attention. Now, this is according to the Standard. I'm just reading straight from the front page. And during this weekend, the Kenya Kwanza wingmen went all out with a barrage of criticism and threats on Uhuru, a clear indication of a rattled and unsettled team coming to terms with the fact that the vote-rich region is slipping away right before their eyes. If you look at other dailies, it talks about the president's own assessment of his chances in Mount Kenya region. Na akasema hiyo anaachia Mungu sababu anaelewa kuna shida hapa na pale. And probably that's the reason why he was in Murang'a yesterday. Now the front page of the Standard has only this one story, Ruto's Bogeyman. I wish they would have asked it as a question, not as a statement. But anyway, this, according to them, is the analysis. They have a quote here of a political analyst, Dismas Mokua. Anasema the praise and attack strategy is meant to rattle former President Uhuru Kenyatta so that he moves to the knowns metrics. This state will enable presidential candidates to recalibrate their 2027 strategies. Now, the retired president also got a chance to answer his critics during one of the events. I think it was in Narok, Kajiado this past weekend. He made a phone call. Unajua siku hizi vile watu wamezoea, alafu ukiongea unasema nimepigia ule jamaa, wacha nimweke kwa speaker. Yeah, na akafungua roho hivyo hivyo. So that's the front page of the Standard. Let's take a look at other headlines kule ndani. Conservationists raise alarm of a plan to relocate animal orphanage. Hiyo ilikuwa iende page 2. Lakini pale page 3, stars shine at Kalasha Awards amid calls for industry reform. President William Ruto was there. He even took part in a skit. He awarded one of our very own, Shiksha Arora. She won a very special award. And I think we should just honor Shiksha as well for doing what she did. Shiksha Arora won the Positive Impact Content Creator of the Year Award at the 14th Kalasha International Film and TV Awards 2026. The initial award was 200,000 shillings for that, but President William Ruto was generous enough to add 300,000 shillings extra, making it 500,000 shillings. Wachana na pesa kwanza. Shiksha Arora, congratulations on that win. Yes, na wajamaa wa Manu. Amani wa Manu angefanya ile kitu tungekuwa poa sana, lakini sawa, tushakuzoea. Anyway, from that, another special report on the Standard, Central Kenya reeling as families bury sons lost to alcohol. This is a problem that cuts across the country, but in Central Kenya it is quite a big problem. So they've done a special report on pages 4 and 5. The other headline under this is billions lost yearly through illicit alcohol industry, Parliament told. Maswala ya pombe haramu. Hey, probe uncovering hidden charges. Now, Minister for Education, Ogamba, sent actually a letter to the TSC asking the TSC to suspend one of the principals of one of the biggest schools in Kenya because amefanya nini? Ame more than double school fees from 53,000 shillings to 120,000. Mutalipa tu. So these are some of the stories here, and I'm looking for other big stories. Standard, I will not defend my seat on UDA ticket, Kangata says. Meanwhile, ODM power revives Raila Orengo era. ODM are holding a retreat in Mombasa as we speak. Lakini najua wajamka sahi, wataamka baadaye. So those are the stories on the back page. Gor Mahia moved 9 points clear in race for league title. Wanajaribu ni kama timu ingine kule England wako 6 points clear on the top of the table. hata Man U wafanye nini na Liverpool hawafikia hapo. But Manchester City will be playing Everton tonight. Matter Sports given prominence on the back page of the Standard. Gazeti la Standard. Tuangazie gazeti la Daily Nation now. On the Daily Nation, housing jobs row. That's a big headline there. You remember last week that economic survey report by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics that said that the affordable housing program had actually provided more than 832,000 jobs in Kenya. So it would appear this headline is asking questions about that. It says the numbers are not adding up. A controversy has erupted over the number of jobs created under the Kenya Kwanza administration's affordable housing program. Analysis of new official data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics suggests President William Ruto and his officers may have overplayed the figures by a big margin. Yeah? So affordable housing in 2025, June, kasema 250,000. July, 320,000. August, 320,000. November, 428,000, meaning an average of about 300,000 jobs every month. Lakini je, hiyo ni ukweli? The Economic Survey Report 2026 says new jobs created in entire construction sector since 2023 is, guess what, 77,000. Lakini according to Housing PS Charles Singer anasema the program has created over 640,000 direct and indirect jobs since 2022. So you see, the KNBS is a government agency saying only 77,000 jobs were created since 2023. The PS of the same government says the jobs created were 640,000 over the since 2022. But you know what we call semantics, hapa ndio shida iko, because some people may be saying jobs, but what kind of jobs? So according to the ministry, wanasema kuna jobs zile direct, kuna zile indirect. Direct jobs are those people going there kujenga pale. Lakini kuna indirect, wale wanafanya kazi hata kupiga mawe kwa kware, si hata hiyo ni kazi, wanahesabiwa pale. Hata kama unafanya kazi kwa hardware, si pia unauzia watu affordable housing kazi, steel and other material, hata hiyo inaongezwa pale. So who is lying? And that's the question. KNBS data says something different. It is a government agency. President William Ruto and his PS and CS say something different. That's a big story on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Other quick highlights on the front page. Tuju pia amefanya ile kitu. Secret recordings in Judge Tuju's EACC 16 million shilling bribery case. So former CS Raphael Tuju anasema kuna judge ako involved na masuala ya bribery na kuna recording mahali. That story is on page 2. That story about Governor Kangata coming out, anaitwa, I've seen online people are saying the epistles of Kangata. He's known to have written a letter back in 2021 to then President ikujua mapresident wengi pia inakuwa shida. President Uhuru Kenyatta. Yes. President Uhuru Kenyatta. And the president then was not very amused that this, back then Kangata was a Senate majority leader, that he could write a letter to him, ambe unaandikia nani barua? We meet so many times, mbona unaniandikia barua? So yesterday, the governor of Murang'a wrote another letter inaitwa the Epistle of Kangata. I don't know why people have given it that title. He's talked about so many things. Of course, the headline talks about him not running using the UDA ticket next year. But he talked about so many things that he feels this administration has failed on. And he picked on 3 things. He said education, health, and manufacturing. He said those 3 things, if this government, if this administration would focus on those 3 things, things would be very different. But because I'm just focused na hizo, ndio maana si agree na nyinyi, na ndio maana sitatumia UDA hadi then. But akasema hapana, until then, I remain a loyal member of the UDA party. Until then. But ikifika wakati huo, mimi siko UDA. Anaenda wapi? That's a big question. A lot of speculation on where Irungu Kangata will head in as far as the political party will use for the elections come next year. Hapo tu kwa hiyo line hapo hiyo column, Ruto admits Mount Kenya headache in 2027. So he was in Murang'a yesterday at a church. The story is on page 8, and in his speech he seems to have agreed or to have come to the realization that yes, Mount Kenya is a bit slippery. He may not have said it directly, but he said, ninaelewa kuna shida hapa. and I'm trying to do everything I can to ensure that tuko upande moja na nyinyi. Na akasema msinitoe kwa roho zenu, lakini naelewa kuna shida na nimewaachia Mungu. Amesema amewaachia Mungu. So that debate, imagine the president is in Murang'a, anasema ni kugumu na amewaachia Mungu, and then the same day the governor of that Murang'a county, who only appeared, I think, briefly to welcome the president, then left, he issues a statement saying, I will not use the president's party next year. Enyewe ni kugumu. Weka mawe. Let's open the inside pages. Audit flags 30 billion shillings Eurobond cash breach. The Auditor General has revealed that the government's diversion of 30 billion Eurobond proceeds to cover for Treasury bond shortfalls violated the law. You can read that story on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Inside pages, Orange Party retreat opens in Mombasa amid a deepening rift. We're made to understand that even those people who are called or deemed rebels, the Linda Mwananchi team, have also been invited for the retreat in Mombasa. Whether or not they'll show up to Jui. Meanwhile, Western region at crossroads as ODM influence weakens is another story on page 7. Back page. Former United manager Ferguson taken to hospital before United's victory. Yeah, he was already at the stadium at the Old Trafford, lakini akapatikana na maumivu and he had to be rushed to hospital in an ambulance, and we wish him well. On matters World Athletics relays, steep learning curve for Team Kenya and Botswana, and we have a very interesting picture of one of Kenya's athletes there. Kenyan sprinter Millicent Ndoro competing in Athletics Kenya Track and Field Championships in January at Thika. So you can read more of that if you're interested in matters athletics. Gor Mahia meanwhile wako 9 points clear pale juu. Matter Sports on the back page of the Daily Nation. Tunaendelea sawasawa. Nataka tuangazie gazeti ingine kabla tufike kwa gazeti ya Taifa Leo, ili tusichanganyikiwe. Habari za Taifa Leo na zile za Daily Nation ni almost similar, na ni kama mambo inaenda gagna. Itabidi tuangalie Taifa Leo. Mlima Nauwachia Mungu. Nani amesema hivi? Ni Rais Ruto. Ruto akiri kukumbana na ugumu kurejesha ufuasi wa Mlima Kenya, ila anaamini kwa maombi atafaulu kufikia mwaka ujao 2027. Hapa gazeti la Taifa Leo anasema ni kilio. Rais Ruto asema japo ufuasi wa Mlima Kenya unateleza, Mungu atamrahisishia mambo kufika mwaka ujao. Akizungumza Murang'a jana kwa mara nyingine baada ya kuzuru huko juma lililotangulia, nilikwambia I told you he was in Murang'a for the second week running. Ni nini anaona huko? Rais alifokea wapinzani akisema wanalojua ni uzushi na ukabila tu, akiamini rekodi yake ya maendeleo itamwokoa uchaguzini mwaka ujao. Lakini amesema atawaachia Mungu wale wa jamaa wa kule pande huo wa Mlima Kenya. Pale chini Kang'ata kung'atuka UDA mwaka ujao. Ni gavana wa Murang'a alikokuwa Rais Ruto jana. Rais akisema ameachia mlima Mungu. Gavana wa Murang'a naye akasema yeye na UDA hawako pamoja kuanzia mwaka ujao. Kwingineko, pengo la usawa la tishia elimu ya CBE, yabainika shule za kiwango cha chini hazina vifaa muhimu tofauti na za kitaifa. Pale juu, kazi za nyumba za bei nafuu si nyingi sana, ripoti inasema. Uchunguzi wa baini idadi ya nafasi za ajira si nyingi alivyosema Rais Ruto. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti hili. Kwingineko, fahamu vipaji chekwa vya wanafunzi. Lakini pale chini kuna masuala ya EPL, Man City kufukuzia Arsenal EPL. Sasa nani wanafukuza nani? Si walikuwa juu ya meza, sasa wako chini wanatoka mbio. Nafurahia sana ile picha imetumika pale. Wanakani kama wanajibizana, wanaulizana maswali. Kweli hii Arsenal tutaiweza? Kumbuka later on the show, Monday Blitz coming up at 8. Rocho atakuja hapa aseme kwani kuliendaje? Kwani kuliendaje hapo jana? Majabali hao wa Man City wahitajika kushinda Everton ugenini leo ili kujiweka pazuri kuwapiku Arsenal. Ndio habari kuu pale nyuma. Man City ugani leo kufukuzia Arsenal. Hata wakishinda hiyo bado sisi tutakuwa mbele kileleni mwa ligi ya EPL. Gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tunazidi kuendelea na uchanganuzi wa magazeti hii leo. And as promised, we'll be linking up with my colleague Muthoni Brenda, who's on the streets of Nairobi. Remember, the biggest question we are asking is whether or not it is right for retired President Uhuru Kenyatta to still be actively involved in politics. He defends his right to do so. The Constitution says one thing. Many politicians, especially those allied to President William Ruto, think otherwise, and they say he shouldn't. What do you think? And Muthoni Brenda will be trying to get an answer from the streets of Nairobi on the same. Before we get to the Business Daily, and naona hiyo ni kama imeangaziwa sana, tuangazie gazeti zingine hapa, like the People Daily and the Star, which are usually also very interesting papers on a day like today. But sababu ya kiteknolojia ni kama inaleta shida pale. Uko na PD pale. Asante sana. Yes, ni maswala ya elimu, how Apex Court saved JSS, and that's junior secondary school term. There's an order that has been set aside to nullify employment of intern teachers days before studies resumed, meaning over 40,000 tutors will be in class, albeit briefly. So what happened was, intern teachers in junior JSS schools had their contracts extended for another year, despite them being given a promise that for the first year of the internship that was going to be okay, then that would confirm them after that 1 year. It did not happen. They were told to sign a further contract for the further 1 year. They were not very happy. Someone went to court and said that is illegal. And the court nullified that extension of the contract by 1 year, meaning it was going to affect everything. But now there's an order setting aside that decision. So the intern teachers still stand and the contract extension still stand, meaning that the school term will not be affected. That is the basis of this story. Alafu kuna jamaa moja wa kanisa kule Siaya ama ni Kisumu. Alisema stop being a choir, echoing executive's agenda. This is Bishop. He was addressing MPs in Siaya. Amekasirika. Ni upande ule wa Nyanza tu mimi najua huko. Kwingineko, the Star has gone with something very different, and this is very interesting because the Star, even as we talk about politics and everything else elsewhere, the Star for the first time has invited us to consider what's happening in the finance bill of this year. And it says on the front page, 5% tax for Mitumba in 2026 finance bill. We've not been talking about the finance bill. I think after 2024, watu walinyamaza sana maswala ya finance bill. Nakumbuka finance bill, hatutaki finance bill, watu kanyamaza sasa. Hata last year, watu walinyamazia. Leo, I think this is the first time we're being invited to consider the finance bill. Do we even know what is there? At least now, according to the Star, we know there's a 5% tax for Mitumba in this year's finance bill. Importers to pay income tax before goods are released. But if you read the story on page 2 of the Star newspaper, there are other things. They've really gone slow on a lot of new taxation that would have been introduced. A lot of that they've gotten rid of. But this one, ya Mitumba, swali kubwa pale. All right, so based on our big question today on whether or not President Uhuru Kenyatta is right in getting involved in active politics, and as promised, we have Muthoni Brenda on the streets. A very good morning to you, Muthoni.